I just paid $600 for all of these action figures. Have I made a terrible mistake? What is going on, folks? So today I have something a little bit special on the agenda for the day. Yesterday, somebody actually reached out in response to a Craigslist ad that I have posted about how I'm looking to buy like action figures and collectibles. He sent me some pictures, which I'll put right up here, about some inventory that he had for sale that he was going to put in a flea market booth, but he'd rather just wholesale it out. It's mostly Marvel Legends figures and also some new in package UFC figures as well. I wanted to be at around $2 per item, and he countered at around $3.50, which sounds like a lot for action figures, but Marvel Legends figures actually do fairly well in bulk loose lots on eBay. I saw they were going for, in general, around $5 a piece that way. The other thing about this deal that made me hesitate a little bit is that it's kind of far away. It's outside of Louisville, so I'll have to drive about an hour and a half each way. But there's enough stuff there that I think it could be worth my while, so I'm gonna go head there today, look some stuff up, see if I can get a little bit better idea for the value of the lot. He said that he would make it worth my time to make the trip out there. But I'm gonna bring you guys along and we will see what the heck we find, so let's do it. Alrighty, so the deal just went down. I didn't film at all there because it was my first time ever meeting this guy. I felt a little weird about it, but you guys can see in the back, I've got a bunch of stuff to process and to show you guys. Definitely paid more than I wanted to. I'm going to explain why a little bit later as well, but wanted to let you guys know, give you that update. I may make a couple stops before I head back into Lexington, but once I do, I'm gonna unpack all this stuff and show you guys everything that I picked up. All right, folks, so I'm back home here now. I've got everything here in the trunk and on the ground, so I'm gonna show you guys a little bit of what I got here. Up here we have a bunch of those UFC figures that I mentioned. In total, there are 60 of them. Paid $4 a piece for these. They're going for in the neighborhood of like $10 on up to the most expensive one I saw was 60. So I'm hoping that I maybe have a few gems in here that will pay for the lot, and then everything else will be gravy. I actually plan on listing the less valuable ones on Marketplace to see if maybe someone wants to take them all off my hands and I won't have to store all these things, make a smaller profit quicker, and just kind of wash my hands of it. Then the biggest part of the deal was this tote here. This is about 200 Marvel and DC action figures. I wanted to be into these for like $1.50 or maybe $2 a piece. Ended up paying about $3.50 a piece for these, which I mentioned earlier is a lot more than I really wanted to pay or would recommend anyone else pay. So here's a bit of a better look at the figures that came in the lot. We've got a good number of solid pieces here. We've got a lot of things. We've got a good number of Spider-Man. One of these actually is worth like 40 plus that I looked up. Decent number of $20 figures in here. I found like an old Ganondorf that will be worth 20. There's like this dinosaur thing that's a $20 bill. So, you know, there are definitely some solid pieces in here. After bringing it all in, I had to get showered and changed and everything because it is a hot one out there. But the question that I hope most of you guys are asking at this point would be, Caleb, if you don't normally recommend operating on these kinds of margins, if you're uncertain what you're actually going to make on this deal, why did you do it in the first place? I mean, just not 1 week ago in your negotiation video, you talked about being willing to walk away from big deals. So why didn't you walk away from this one? And I'm really glad that this deal came up when it did, because I think it illustrates perfectly a conviction that has been solidifying in my mind more and more over my short career in reselling over these last couple years. And that is that building relationships with good suppliers may be the single best way for a one-person operation like myself to scale a resale business. And to illustrate this point, I want to read you guys part of the conversation that I had with Drew, my supplier of all this stuff, when he reached out to me from my Craigslist ad. I had offered him a number $500 or $550 for this whole lot. It was a number that I felt a little bit more comfortable with. And he came back with $350 a piece on the Marvel Legends stuff and $4 for the new in-box UFC figures. And he was telling me about why that was still a good deal. And here's what I said. It sounds like you're being fair. I'm mostly on the lower side because I don't know about the accessories and stuff, but I may have some room to come up. Let me ask this. Do you get deals like this often? I just ask because I like doing larger deals like this when I can rather than running around and trying to find inventory. I tend to pay up a bit more to the folks that I deal with regularly. And listen to his response. Yes, I have tons and tons of toys, man. I used to run and set up at Comic-Cons. If we make a deal on this stuff, I'll hook you up at a later date on my good stuff. And this is something that he continued to talk about as we were doing this deal. He gets van loads of this kind of stuff in on a weekly basis. And the fact that he has regular access to this kind of inventory that I really like dealing with was a game changer in my mentality in making this deal. All right, attention class. Attention, class is now in session. The Honorable Professor Phoenix Resale is presiding. Today we are going to be talking about sourcing versus networking. Here's my illustration, folks. Here's the soapbox that I've been getting on this entire video. I think the average reseller focuses 95% of their efforts here. This is time, 95% of their time on sourcing and very little to networking. This is how I was when I started out, going to Goodwills, yard sales, book sales, wherever the heck I could go to try to find as much inventory as I could, because I thought that the more time I put into finding inventory, the more money I'd be able to make. The problem is, as resellers, our time is very limited. And I believe that one of the biggest, if not the biggest factor that will determine our success, as I said earlier, is being able to maximize the time that we do have during the week. So my thesis of this video is that the resellers that are most successful, the ideal ratio would be sourcing a much lower percent ultimately once you're able to build connections and do a lot more bulk deals with suppliers. And your networking time in order to get there would have to go through the roof. Now, this is a long roundabout way of answering the question of earlier. Caleb, why would you give more money than you're comfortable with for a bulk deal? And the reason is, people, this right here. I am learning more and more every day the value of your network as a reseller, and that's something that I've become more and more willing to invest time, aka the drive time that it took to go 3 hours round trip out of my way today to meet this guy who has a connection to a regular supply of toys and action figures, and also being willing to invest more money into those kinds of relationships as well. I want the people that I work with who are giving me these bulk deals that save me tons of my most valuable asset, my time as a single owner and operator of my business. I want to be able to make them feel very well taken care of and like they're getting a good deal. That's why I spent more time and more money on a deal that I don't know how much I'm going to make on today, because this is ultimately what I believe is going to be able to allow me to scale my business despite my limited time going forward. And I'll acknowledge 100% that this is not somewhere that you can get to immediately. It takes a lot of work, a lot of shaking hands at yard sales or auctions or wherever you source, a lot of getting your name out there and letting people know what you do, a lot of responding to Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist posts, or in this case, posting your own ads and trying to connect with people that way. And this right here is certainly not a ratio that I am at yet, but I'll tell you what has convinced me most over this last couple years of the validity of that strategy is two things. The first thing is my own experience. If you guys have been following with me for a long time, especially back in my Instagram only days, I've done a good number of different kinds of bulk deals, from video games to makeup to comic books. I've done other action figure stuff, and it's really opened my eyes to the efficiency that results from spending less time sourcing and more time selling. And the more connections, the more suppliers, the more guys you have, the more those kinds of deals are going to come your way. And the second thing that has me so convinced of this is watching other people do it. Whether it's Lonnie from Garage Flips, who I'm pretty sure may be making a full-time income from his storage unit connection alone, or it's Chase After the Right Price, who just bought his $15,000+ video game collection to piece out and sell that way, along with many others who are in the industry and also on YouTube that are crushing the game right now. Put a lot of stock in these kinds of bulk deals that result from supplier relationships. So anyway, that was a super long-winded way of sharing something that I have just been learning recently and answering the question finally, that the reason I paid so much for all this stuff is that I'm hoping that this guy Drew becomes one of my regular suppliers. I think he has the potential to be, and I wanted to show him up front that I was willing to pay a little bit more money than maybe I normally do if it means he can supply me with consistent inventory and save me on the most precious asset, which is my time. Anyways, I hope those thoughts were helpful to somebody out there. For my question of the day today, I'm going to do something a little bit different. Since we're on the topic of improvement and growing over time, what I'd like to ask you guys is for your brutally honest feedback. I'm always trying to grow and become better on the YouTube side, so what I want to know from you guys today is, what is your least favorite thing about my videos? Does my intro suck? Are my mannerisms annoying? Do I focus too much on one aspect of the business versus another? Does Pooh not get enough screen time? Let me know your brutally honest thoughts, people, because I'm looking to grow as much as I can. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, I will catch you guys. Actually, let's do the thing here. The thing will catch you guys on the flip.